On this day, Wednesday, October 10th, 2012, at 4 p.m., the regularly scheduled board meeting of the Chicago Park District is being held in the field house of Rowan Park at 11546 South Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. Will the secretary take a roll call of the commissioners?
Commissioner Shalaby?
Here.
Commissioner Koldyke? Commissioner Lavelle?
Here.
Commissioner Salgado?
Here.
Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Vice President Armstrong?
Here.
President Traubert?
Here.
Quorum is present. Let the record reflect that General Superintendent Michael Kelly and General Counsel Maria Garcia are also in attendance.
This meeting will please come to order. It's great to be here in the 10th Ward, and Mike, you want to lead us off?
Sure. Once again, I'd like to echo the board president's sentiments and say it's great to be here in the 10th Ward as a South Sider. I do love coming south for board meetings. One, because it's a closer commute to my house, and two, because it's a good opportunity to get out in the community for the board and for maybe the administration that doesn't normally get out of the building, get to some of the far reaches of Chicago. So we're very happy to be here. And on that note, I would like to take a moment and ask the Alderman of the 10th Ward, Alderman John Pope, to say a few words. While he's walking to the mic, I just want to reiterate for the record that Alderman Pope has been a great friend of the Chicago Park District over the years, partnering with us on various projects with TIF money and his own menu money. And with that, I'd like to welcome Alderman Pope.
Well, thank you, Mike, and members of the board. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have everyone down here on the far southeast side. Oftentimes, far too often, the far southeast side and the 10th Ward and other areas are forgotten about. People don't realize that the city extends this far south and this far east. And I think as you've driven in or taken your bike or taken public transportation, you see that this area has a lot to offer, including this park, Rowan Park. This is one of our main parks and our most, I'm not going to say most important, but one of our most popular. And I know firsthand because my son and daughter participate in various programs here, including the basketball program, which is going to be starting up soon. So I'm pleased to have this meeting here today in the far southeast side. Beyond our parks, we have a lot of things to offer here, so I certainly encourage you to take a look around. This is one of the most environmentally diverse communities in the city of Chicago. We have a lot to offer and look forward to working with the Park District. As Mike said, we have done a lot of partnerships together, but I will say we need more to the board. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, and I do look forward to working with all of you and hope you have a successful meeting. For the record, this is my second official meeting today. We had a council meeting. Now we get the Park District meeting, so a busy yet productive day for me. So good luck and thank you. Welcome to the southeast side. Welcome to the 10th Ward and Rowan Park.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Alderman Pope. Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the regular meeting held on Wednesday, September 12th, 2012. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Will the secretary take a roll call of the commissioners?
Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Lavelle?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Traubert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the minutes are adopted.
Presentations from the departments. First, it's my real pleasure to congratulate Commissioner Shalaby, who's receiving the 10-year Member Service Anniversary Award from the Illinois Association of Park Districts, the IAPD, for his dedication and years to the Park District. Roy, it's a real pleasure to present you with this plaque, and a decade of service is recognized and appreciated, and we thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may just say a few words, 10 years really goes by fast, and the parks are, I think, one of the jewels of the great city of Chicago, and it's really been an honor and a pleasure to serve on this board with past commissioners, but especially this group. This is a very special group, and I've seen the Park District just get better and better, not just as a showcase to outsiders, but also within the neighborhoods. And being a lifelong Chicagoan and growing up in the parks, the goal is to make those parks as busy as possible, and we're going to work to continue to do that. Thank you very much.
And Roy, thanks again. I know 10 years, it represents hundreds and hundreds of hours of you volunteering your very valuable time for public service, and it's most appreciated.
Thank you.
Next is the presentation of the latest edition of City in a Garden from Park District historian Julia Bachrach. Is Julia not here?
No,
Okay,
sir.
well, hopefully Julia will join us later, and we'll circle back to that. We'll hear a fall preview from Chief Program Officer Vaughn Bryant.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners and Superintendent Kelly. I want to give you an update on community recreation. I'm pleased to announce that we have grown our fall registration by 12%. We have currently 59,406 registrants. So we're so far so good in terms of our success in fall registration. And then another thing I think is very important is our online registration is up 25%, and we actually set a record this fall. In the summer, we had about 23,000 online registrants, and we have 25,000 in the fall, so that means the investment to go technology is working out for us. Next slide. I wanted to give you an update on our neighborhood soccer program. As you guys know, we wanted to offer free inner-city soccer to add to our portfolio of inner-city sports programs. We're at 24 parks, and we have over 360 participants in our inaugural season. We have 4 different divisions for children ages 4 to 12, so we're doing well in that area. So we plan on having a spring league as well, and this is for both boys and girls. Next slide. I wanted to give you a program update. 13 Terrors is in its second season. It's coming October 19th through the 21st and 26th through the 28th. That's where we basically transform theater on a lake, and we have ghostly ghouls and zombies and monsters trolling the area to entertain our patrons. Last year we had about 5,000 patrons in attendance. And this is actually a good community event that allows our high school students to earn service learning hours by volunteering at the event. Here locally, we're going to have, next slide, a new event here at Rowan Park called Zumbaween, where they're going to do Zumba Fit, but do it with a Halloween spin. That's going to be October 30th, so any local folks in attendance, it'll be October 30th from 6 to 8. That's for adults and children, and you get in free if you wear a costume. We also have our 13th annual Pumpkins in the Park. That's a 5K event that has fear zones throughout. It's in Lincoln Park. It's a full day of festivities where we have music, sponsor giveaways, and we have movies in the park. That should be a fun event on October 27th, and it's all day. And lastly, we want to give a special thanks to Walgreens, who gave us $35,000 in cash to become the presenting sponsor of Halloween's in the Park. One of the things that we think is especially as important in terms of what we're trying to promote is that the giveaways in terms of the candy were all candies on our healthy snack list. So things like Junior Mints, dark chocolate, and lemon heads. So we're staying consistent with our promotion of wellness and healthy eating, and we appreciate their cooperation in that effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Vaughn. Julia?
Sorry I'm late. Good afternoon, Superintendent Kelly and President Traubert and Commissioners. I'm Julia Backrack. I'm the historian for the Chicago Park District, and I really just came to present to you the newly published City in a Garden, but more specifically to thank you for the opportunity to work on this project. I had the opportunity to publish the first edition of the City in a Garden in 2001. And it was really remarkable that so much had happened in the last 10 years. So many parks restored, an opportunity for incredible new photography, and for me, really the joy of being able to do additional research resulted in this new book. So I think it's really exciting that we can look at not just the history of the park, which is something that's a continuum that we continue to add to, but also just the great work that's been done in the last 10 years. So you'll see parks like Palmisano and even Millennium Park, which we can take a little credit for. So I just wanted to thank you and to let you know that we do have some additional copies available at the Park District if you have the need to give some out. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Thanks.
Julia, thank you. It's great to have you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions, any comments for Julia?
I just want to commend you. I'm just looking at the table of contents and the pictures and the history. I mean, this is the whole history of the park right in this book. And how long did it take to compile all this information?
Well, I've been the Park District's historian for over 20 years, so I'm starting to feel like I'm part of the history. But so it's kind of a combination of a lot of the research that I've done. But the first edition of this book came out in 2001, and I had never really imagined that there'd be an opportunity to update it. So I was told that to do a second edition, you had to write 15% new text. And I would say this is probably 90% new text. So there was just so much that's been going on. And we have the same photographer that we had 10 years ago, and he really had the opportunity to go out and just capture a lot of the restoration, new parks, and some of the programming and events in the parks.
Julie, I have a question about how the people in these individual parks actually learn about the history of their parks, because I'm near 2 or 3 parks that probably have a long, rich history, but I don't think there's really a place where that information is readily available in the park so you could stumble over it.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, is to figure out how to get the information out. We do have a few sites like the Lily Pool and the Conservatory in Lincoln Park where we have trained volunteers giving tours. So, it would be great to do more of that kind of thing. But other than that, most of the information is online, and, I'm out doing presentations and talking to people. But there's always the challenge of how to physically get this information in the park without adding a lot of clutter or more stuff that needs to be maintained. So I do feel like that now that we have the web, that there are a lot of new opportunities that we're starting to take advantage of. I've been doing some audio tours that you can listen to and download. And every park has a short history online, but it's just always a challenge to figure out how to convey the information. So hopefully there'll be more exciting new ways to do so without spending a lot of money or creating too much stuff to maintain, right?
So Julius, as someone who's handed out hundreds of these books over his career at the Park District, is in goodwill and whatnot, for our audience that's not only here but the audience that's viewing us from the web, how would one go about buying one of these books?
Oh, these are in bookstores, and they're on Amazon. So they're in all the normal bookstores, the Chicago Historical Society, but Barnes & Noble, whatever bookstores we still have around anymore. But I'm also doing some book signings. I'm going to be at the Garfield Park Conservatory on December 8th. I'm going to be at the Cliff Dwellers in November. And we don't really have an opportunity to sell them at the Park District anymore. But if there are visitors or people that come through, we do have a few. In lieu of taking any monetary compensation, the Park District receives a certain number of free copies, but they're commercially available in bookstores.
Can I get an autographed copy too this week?
Yeah, didn't you get one?
No, I didn't.
I got one here for you.
Awesome.
You've
Thank
got good connections.
Julie, just to expand a little bit on Commissioner Lavelle's question, as someone who has had some time to spend with you and know what a resource you are and the keeper of the Park District's history, I'm sure you've tried, but I would think it would be a real important thing for you to try to go out to regional parks, take this, and because I know anyone who would show up to a talk that you would give about the history of that park, it would enrich their experience of that park. I know you've done things like that, but
Right,
maybe this would be a chance to do it with this book tour.
I look at myself as sort of a resource to the parks, but we could maybe let the area managers know that the new publication is out, because I'm always more than happy to speak, as my colleagues well know. So
Great. Well, let's follow up with that.
maybe if some of the advisory
Yep.
councils
Great.
wanted to have events, I'd be more than happy to do so. And I do hear from a lot of people in the parks. A number of our parks are being highlighted in the Chicago Architecture Foundation's Open House Chicago, and a lot of those people contact me, and they're making big photo blow-ups with information. And so, you know, here and there, the information does get out.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We need to figure out how to get it out.
Item number 3 on the agenda is the people in the park section. Will the secretary please call the names of those who have signed up to speak?
Yes, we ask that you please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Our first 3 speakers are Carolyn Marsh, Cecilia Butler, and George Blakemore.
I don't see Cecilia Marsh. Or Carolyn Marsh. I see Cecilia Butler.
She's not here. You can go ahead, Ms. Butler.
I have to have one of those books. Cecilia Butler, Washington Park. Welcome to the South Side. You now have time to go get you some cheap gas, and go play, go gamble. You know, you're 5 minutes away to both. But I have good news. Our last meeting, the softball team said they had a great season. So I had to make sure I came over here to let you know good news. No complaints from the softball. Now, we have lost the baseball team. They're spread all over the South Side. So we have some empty fields near 55th Street that eventually we want to put something in. Their only complaint was that they suggest that the Frisbee people move further south. Other than that, we had a good softball season, and you know that they're champions. They have titles all over, so I had to say that. And thank you for our bleachers. That they're on their way. Plus, we have $7,500 to match for the Youth Fitness Center. The sooner we can take care of that, the better. So I might not see you until next year. If not, see you next year. Had a good year.
Thank you.
Nice to know we did something right.
Mr. Blakemore?
Good afternoon to the citizens. Good afternoon to the staff and to the commissioners. I would like to say that we have beautiful parks in the city of Chicago. Also, I would like to say that we must protect these parks. These parks are public parks, and they are needed. In the future, these private and public partnerships should be looked at very, very closely, particularly the one that you had with Nike. Nike dominated that field there. Nike had security there, wouldn't let the people, the young people, play basketball there, and it was intimidating. They had fenced the area off. And in the future, our parks are not for sale. I said it once. Our parks, our public parks are not for sale. That's twice. Our public parks are not
30 seconds
for
remaining.
sale at no time in the future. Should this ever happen at a public park, with a public and private entity together, deny the citizen from the use of public facilities, please, in the future, look at this and never, never, never let it happen again. As a concerned citizen, I feel compelled to speak on this issue. I
You have
was speaking
exceeded your
to
2 minutes.
someone in Texas, and I was trying to explain this scenario to them. They said, well, what does Nike have to do with the parks? And when I explained this
Mr.
scenario,
Blakemore, you have exceeded your 2 minutes.
they supported me, telling me that I was right, and that's why I'm here today, to speak on this issue. Never let this happen again. Deny.
Thank you,
Citizen.
Mr. Blakemore.
Thank you again, and let's not treat Mr. Blakemore in this manner, because he will be back. Be tolerant over these minutes and never be insulting to people of the public when they come up
Thank
and
you,
speak.
Mr.
And
Blakemore.
thank you again, young lady. And I'm saying never, never again go into these contracts denying citizen use of public property. Thank you again, and you have a peaceful and blessed day. And remember, treat everyone with dignity and respect. And may God bless all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore.
Our next 3 speakers are Mark Carroll, May Toy, and Elise Denard.
How's it going? I just wanted to update you on things that we're doing in the rowing world to kind of help the rowing community. One thing to keep in mind when the rowing teams start at the 2 new rowing boathouses in Chicago is their budgets are going to have one big section for transportation. That's taking boats to races, having kids go to races, hotels, and the reason is because there's no good race course near Chicago. So there's a group that I'm involved with that just about a mile from here at Lake Calumet. We're trying to have it be turned back into a rowing race course. Actually, it was a rowing race course about 120 years ago when Pullman had his race courses here. And so my plan is to work with groups like the Millennium Reserve, local groups and things like that, to actually have a permanent rowing race course here where people can have races, people can come to Chicago and have it be a destination. So I just wanted to say that we're doing that, but at some time these would be things that would help the Park District to have a permanent facility here to offer, proper races and race course destinations in a venue. So, all right, thanks.
Mark, I do want to just, for the boards, so the board knows, all the land that we're acquiring on the southeast side, we are actively talking about athletic alternatives, ways of programming it, ways of finding funding to make some big chunks of the land available for active programming, and that it's a great idea. So we will follow up with you on that.
Hello, my name is May Toy. I'm president of the Skinner Park Advisory Council. What you have before you, we're inviting you to the Skinner Park Playground Donor Tile Dedication, which is also our pumpkin patch on October 20th. We never had a grand opening for our playground, so we're doing a donor tile dedication, which is being installed currently. So we hope you can all attend and celebrate with us. We had an agreement with the Park District that all the children's events would be free. And the Skinner Park Advisory Council will partner with the Park District to make make all the children's events to be free. And this year, the Todd Halloween party was marketed with a fee of $5 still. And I don't understand, how this happens year after year, especially when we have a standing offer to partner with the Park District to make sure that, kids of low income are made welcome at the park. I spoke here in June. The graffiti that's on the photos still there. The problems is still there. My last issue, I'll let you read for yourself, okay? But I will tell you this. I expect apology, and I don't expect what is happening now to continue.
30 seconds
Thank you.
remaining.
And I hope, again, our commitment to be a partner with a park district remains strong. And I don't want to mar, our donor child dedication with any unpleasantness. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elise Denard, and I'm an officer at the Skinner Park Advisory Council Committee. I'm here to raise concerns about what is happening at our park, Skinner Park. On September the 29th, which is National Lands Day, the Skinner Park Advisory Council organized a volunteer day. We had confirmed in writing from the park supervisor that the field house would be open from 7 to 5, so we could provide food and refreshments and the washrooms for the volunteers. However, the same problem occurred. No one showed up until 8:30. After moving all the food and equipment to the field house, we had to move all the food away from being spoiled by the sun because the field house wasn't open. I had to walk 2 volunteers to Dunkin' Donuts to buy them coffee and let them use the restrooms. We called the supervisor to open the doors, but he said he lived too far away and couldn't come. The Skinner Park Advisory Council had a key to the bathroom for years given to us by Jim Cronus, Chief Operating Officer. A couple of months ago, the Park District changed the padlocks to the bathrooms without
30
telling
seconds
us
remaining.
and informing us. This payback for complaining about their staff problems. And then there was no tissue in the women's washroom on that day. The young lady who worked in the morning was nice and apologized for being late. However, the afternoon, we were informed another staff member that she only scheduled to work until 4. After the volunteers were locked out of the washroom...
You have exceeded your 2 minutes.
Okay. The locks were changed and wouldn't be such a big problem. But now, 10 days after, and still no response to our call and why the field house wasn't open until 5
Thank you,
and
Ms.
right.
Denard.
Thank you.
There are no more speakers.
Item number 4, under unfinished business, there is nothing to present for consideration. Item number 5, under new business, from the Chief Financial Officer, presentation of the Chicago Park District revenue policy.
Thank you for the promotion. Good morning, good afternoon, Commissioners, Superintendent Kelly, Alonzo Williams, Director of Revenue. It is recommended that the Board of Commissioners adopt an overall revenue policy for the Chicago Park District. This policy will provide a comprehensive guidelines relating to non-tax revenue sources received and in accordance with the mission of the district. This revenue policy provides the overall guidelines and structure for determining fees and managing other revenue sources for the Chicago Park District. It is intended to be used as a guide to assist with responsible budgeting and long-term fiscal planning. Exceptions to these guidelines may be authorized from time to time after review by the General Superintendent and his or her administrative staff. Annual fees may be raised considering market conditions or in general alignment with the Consumer Price Index. Fees are recommended by the General Superintendent and approved by the Board of Commissioners. The fee schedule may be found in the district's annual appropriation ordinance. This policy does not apply to the property tax levy or personal property replacement tax. This policy does apply to the following revenue sources: establishment of activity/membership fees and discount, permit fees, facility rentals, contractual revenues, corporate sponsorship and advertisement, and grants. Any questions?
Well, so is this policy is visible on our website?
It will be once you guys approve.
And what about the transparency in terms of fees for various facilities?
To give you one example, one great opportunity we had when we for this in creating this policy was right at a park down the street, Calumet Park. Calumet Park, their summer camp fee was additionally $235. Through this policy, we were able to reduce it for this upcoming summer, and we only charged $175, so it was a difference of about 43 more kids to the Chicago Park District, as well as about $2,600 in revenue to the district. So with that flexibility that we have in order to change fees to make it more welcoming and appropriate for those particular parks, it works out for the best.
But if I wanted to throw a birthday party for a child in a park, and I wanted to see what was available, and I wanted to shop around is that all available for me on our website or not?
It will be available on our website. Right now, we're going through the second piece of Active Works, and that's part of the second phase where all of our prices will be listed. So both room rental fees as well as fill fees as well. But currently, right now, at each local fees, all fees are posted at the front desk at the parks.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Is there?
Are we voting on this issue? Oh, public comment? Yep.
So actually, everything in the budget is still, as you heard me state, it's still in the annual appropriation ordinance. That's that last page of the budget book where we see where all the fees are priced at. What we're now doing is just formulating an actual policy that we're going to have district-wide. So it's no different. It's still our regular operating procedures. Now we just have an official policy for it. If you look there, those have always been split out. The board approves all of our fees. They approve the maximum. So if you look at that back page, it'll talk about what the maximum rate is we can charge for a room rental. What's the maximum rate we can charge for different programs? What's the maximum rate we can charge for mooring a boat? So all of those items are stated. They're just not broken out in this area. When I just talked about A through F pretty much, that just talks about some of those things that's represented in that back page. If you'd like, I can come back and talk to you.
You can talk offline. It's not a change. In fact, it's more of a consolidation of all the different acts we've done in the past. It's the same policy. We did this in part for CAPRA and state accreditation. The last few months, we've been bringing a lot of new policies to the board for adoption. It was to get the accreditation through the national organization, and then hopefully the state organization in the upcoming month.
Okay, do we need a...
Is there a motion?
This was FYI? Okay. All right, thank you.
Do we need to vote on this?
No vote.
No vote? Item number 6 from the Comptroller, presentation of fiscal year 2011 comprehensive annual financial report, popular annual financial report, and other associated audit documents.
Good afternoon, President Traubert, Superintendent Kelly, and Commissioners. The 2011 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report and other associated reports are being submitted in accordance with the Code of Chicago Park District, Chapter 6, Section C. It is the necessity of the Comptroller to prepare an annual statement giving a full and detailed accounting of our receipts and expenditures during the preceding fiscal year. Such statements shall also detail the liabilities and resources of the Park District and all other items necessary to exhibit its true financial condition. Said annual financial statement shall be accompanied by the certificate of a certified public accountant not connected with the Park District who has been appointed by the Board. Such accountant shall verify that the statements contained in the Comptroller's report are true reflections of the books of his or her office, which books have been correctly kept. Upon completion, it shall be transmitted to the Board at the annual meeting. These reports meet these criteria. KPMG LLP certified public accountants have issued an unqualified or clean opinion on the district's financial statements. Kathy Bauman, who was the engagement partner from KPMG, is with us today if there's any additional questions. As stated in the CAFR, the preparation of this report would not have been possible without the efficient and dedicated service of the Comptroller's Office, the Treasurer's Office, and the Office of Budget and Management. We wish to express our appreciation to all members of the departments who assisted and contributed to the preparation of this report. Credit also must be given to the General Superintendent and CEO, Michael Kelly, and the Board of Commissioners for their unfailing support for maintaining the highest standards of professionalism in the management of the district's finances in fiscal year 2011. The 2011 Popular Annual Financial Report is also being submitted today. Both the CAFR and the PAFR are available on the Park District's website. If you look at the screen, this is the cover page for both reports, actually. And on this cover, you see children at play, you see our core values, and if we go to the second page, the Popular Annual Financial Report is a supplementary financial report designed to meet the needs of special interested parties who are either unwilling or unable to use the more detailed financial information that's provided in the traditional CAFR. Some of the highlights for PAFR for 2011 is that this is the third year that it is being prepared. Secondly, this is the first year that we will make a copy of the PAFR available at all parks. Some of the differences between the PAFR and the CAFR, when we look in terms of length, the CAFR is a 132-page document. The PAFR is 20 pages. In terms of financial information, the CAFR has a lot of detailed current year information. The PAFR contains a summary of the current year financial information and 5-year trends for revenue and expenditures. In terms of presentation, the CAFR is a very technical and formal document, where the PAFR is a more user-friendly document with lots of pictures throughout the report. The CAFR is primarily used by investors and regulators, where the PAFR is intended to be used by park patrons and other individuals. On the next slide, this is just an example of a page from the report. And on this page, on the left-hand side, we present some definitions because we also use technical terms here, but we define them to make it easier to understand. We include some financial information. On this particular page, we could see net assets of the district at the end of the year, including the capital assets balances. Are there any questions?
No.
Cecilia, I want to, for the record, just state that you came on board in April, and putting together the CAFR and the PAFR is no small task. So I commend you, Maria, and the rest of your staff, because I know you right when you came on board, you guys rolled up your sleeves and you immediately went to work. And again, I just want to say congratulations on putting these documents together.
Thank you.
Great job, Cecilia. And these are, Again, these documents are really terrific, and I've looked at them every year, and they really do give you a good understanding of Park District financials. They are available hard copy at parks,
We are going to make them available this year. We're in the process of distributing them.
and this is available then in addition to hard copy. This is all available online.
Yes, it is.
I commend you for making the financial standing of the park accessible to people who are put off by a full-scale annual report. So this will help people really begin to understand a little bit better what we have to work with for each community.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7 from the Director of Purchasing, authorization to enter into a contract for reverse auction services.
President Traubert, Commissioners, General Superintendent and CEO Kelly, good afternoon. My name is Rafi Sarafi, and I'm the Director of Purchasing. And I'm here today to recommend that the General Superintendent and CEO enter into a contract with Peralta Garcia Innovations for reverse contract services. I thought before I go into the formal presentation of the letter, I would first give you a brief overview of what a reverse auction is. It'll be a quick two-part overview. Part 1, I will get into defining what is a reverse auction. And then in part 2, I will ask Gail Garcia Stefan, who is here with us today. She's a principal of the firm that we are recommending for award, and she will come up and make a quick overview of reverse auctions in more depth and the type of auctions that they have run. So the question is, what is a reverse auction? Excuse my voice. A reverse auction is a type of auction in which the role of the buyer and seller are reversed, and also it's where the bidders are bidding against themselves and driving the prices down instead of up. So, for instance, in an ordinary auction, like the type that we are most familiar with, whether it's Sotheby's or any other auction house or Christie's, the sellers in those scenarios are selling objects, artwork, whatever it may be, collectible, to a buyer at the highest price. And so the buyers are competing against each other to purchase an item at the highest price. In a reverse auction, the roles are reversed. You have the buyer seeking to purchase a commodity or a service at the lowest price. So what you have is the buyers are competing against each other to bid their price for their services or commodities at the lowest price. So, next slide, please. So what are the features of a reverse auction? Well, it's going to automate our solicitation process. We're now going to be taking some of our bids online, so there will be internet, web-based bidding. It's going to make our procurement process more efficient. Our CPD general terms and conditions will still apply, like compliance. The sellers of the commodities and services are going to be bidding their prices and driving their prices downward. There's going to be real-time posting of each bid, so that when a bidder puts in a price into the auction, that price will be real-time stamped, and we will be able to get then a real-time audit trail of the entire auction, what bids were entered and at what time and at what amounts. That briefly is my overview of a reverse auction, and now I'd like to call up Gail Garcia Stefan to give you a little bit more overview into some reverse auctions that they have run.
Hi there, my name's Gail. She's going to pull up the presentation. I'm a principal and owner of Peralta Garcia. Our firm does reverse auctions around the country, most specifically in the government sector. We also work in the private side. But we work quite a bit in the private sector. So I'm going to just give you a quick orientation. What you're looking at on the screen here in front of you, or to the side of you, is the online bidding platform that's used for reverse auctions. So just to orientate you, all these little dots here, these are bids that were placed. So this is an auction that was run for the city of Chicago for elevator maintenance and service a couple months ago. In a traditional process, not using auction, these 3 bidders, these are the bidders that were qualified by the city to participate. The city would have received 3 bids in a sealed package, right? During the auction, they received 356 separate bids for this service. So one of the single most important advantages of an auction of this nature is that you're allowing bidders to be competitive and still retaining the sealed bid process that's important in the government sector. So using this example, this is a real bid that we did for the city. They were currently paying $5,700,000 approximately for this service out at O'Hare. Through the course of 2 hours and 27 minutes of live bidding by these three vendors, the price was driven down to $4,624,000 for a savings of over $1 million to the city from their current contract price. So this was a successful auction from the city's standpoint for a lot of different reasons. If you look at this page, I just want to show you briefly the interface with bidders. So bidders sit in their office. They don't have to leave. As long as they have an internet connection, they can put in a price. And they simply enter their price into this field. The system extrapolates the price and shows their overall rank. This auction is over, so it doesn't show rank. And then their overall price that they're currently bidding. So it's fairly intuitive. We do hundreds, thousands of bids a year in the government space. It is just starting to emerge in government space, and we're starting to see a lot more governments embrace this as part of their important supply chain and procurement strategy. Just by way of example, I just threw up a couple here that the city did. So when our first auction we did for the city of Chicago was their police vehicles, $132 million purchase. So there's really nothing that's too big or too complicated for auction. If you can write a spec, you can basically throw it up on the platform. So aside from driving lower price, though, it also helps governments understand a market price, right? So in the second case here at Concrete, we didn't drive a better price than their current price, but their price was 6 years old, and the two vendors that competed were within 1/4 of 1 percentage point from each other, which makes us believe in a lot of markets that is a market price. When we get two vendors that are that close, blind, they don't know what each other are bidding. So it also drives lower price, but it also drives a market price, which is important. So. In the city of Los Angeles, we do a lot with, and we anticipate doing a lot with Rafi's team in terms of supplementing your current procurement staff. We'll come in and do a review of your contract list, kind of target things out. Where can you buy differently? How can we put a different strategy in place? We'll source regionally and nationally for additional vendors. I know in the government, I was in government for a long time. All the boards I worked for, why do we always have the same vendors, and why can't we get new vendors bidding on our products? So that's one thing we will help you with. And I think I only had 5 minutes, so I don't want to overstay my welcome. I just wanted to show you how it works and take any questions that you might have, so if you have any.
Might I add something?
Sure. What kind of things are we going to be using this process for, and what kinds will we not?
It reverse auctions. Public agencies around the country, including the city of Chicago, the city of Los Angeles, are reverse auctioning all sorts of commodities and services. The only thing right now I know that has not been reverse auctioned nationally, and Gail can correct me, is construction services. But all sorts of commodities that we purchase, we certainly can run them through reverse auctions, whether it's arts and craft supplies, sporting goods, elevator maintenance and repair, which Gail just showed you for the city. We have a contract for the same services, and that went out on reverse auction, and they achieved big savings. So we're going to strive to see what we can put through, consulting with Gail and using their advice and expertise to try to reverse auction whatever makes sense, and we hope to achieve the big savings that other public agencies are realizing.
I am very familiar with this, having been a part of this team, not that's bidding on this, but with the City of Chicago team. And if I'm not mistaken, telecommunications is prohibited from being bid in the state of Illinois.
And construction, right.
And construction services. But as a result of using reverse auction here and in numerous places around the country, it's been incredible the kind of savings that you routinely achieve. So I'm very happy to see this come to the Chicago Park District. I will be recusing myself from voting for obvious reasons, but I'm really happy to see this contract come before the board.
And I have to say, I'm excited as well. I'm excited about every matter that comes before the board, but this is one of those that the Department of Purchasing has been seeking to do for a few years. It's going to make our process more efficient, and it's going to achieve savings, we believe, for the Park District.
Rafi, can you tell me what's the barrier for you doing this in-house as opposed to you contracting to get outside expertise here?
Well, that's the point. Peralta Garcia has the expertise. They've been doing this. They're doing it around the country, whether it's the City of LA, City of Chicago, City of Indianapolis, and other public institutions around the country. They have the expertise. So to do it, and to do it properly, to do it efficiently, and to achieve the maximum savings that we believe we'll achieve, I think having someone with the expertise of Peralta Garcia is the way to go.
And may I add, they have the technology. They have the experience of having the ability to teach the vendors how to use the system. They have the ability to help the sourcing entity source contractors so that you make sure that you have a robust auction. So if you say you want to buy elevator parts, and perhaps in this part of the country there are not a lot of vendors for a particular thing that you seek to buy, then the company helps you to source vendors from first in your target area, but from as far afield as necessary to make sure that you have a robust auction.
I would like to add, President Traubert, one more piece to my answer to your question. Peralta Garcia showed an example up there for the City of Los Angeles. The director of purchasing for the Public Works Department for the City of LA a few years ago, like all public agencies around the country, had to do more with less. He lost staff, almost half of his staff, and he lost his budget. And so he turned to reverse auctions as a way to achieve more with less. And he says, and he would say if he were here today, that without reverse auctions, they wouldn't be able to do what they need to do every day. So it's a tool. It's a tool to help all public agencies out and on the procurement side, including the Park District. And it's a way to achieve the efficiencies and achieve it efficiently. And it will maximize our efficiency on the other work that we do in-house.
Okay, and then finally, forgive the irony of this question, but how many bidders did we have for this particular contract?
Sure. This was advertised as an RFP, and we had one proposal received from Peralta Garcia. We did have many firms that are in this business that downloaded the RFP. And as our regular course of business in our purchasing department, when we have scenarios like this, we survey firms that downloaded the solicitation but did not put in a bid or a proposal. We did that in this circumstance, and we learned the following. Some of the proposers felt that at this moment in time when we advertised the RFP, they had too much work on their plate, and they couldn't take on another job of this magnitude. So another firm or two said they had no interest in dealing with our MBE, WBE requirements. And then there was another firm that said that our fee structure that was advertised in the RFP is not the way they do business. What does that mean? We, like the City of Chicago, we advertised a commission-based fee where PGS would take a 1% commission from every bid. This firm prefers to get paid a guaranteed management fee up front. So they walked away because they didn't like our fee structure. And so our code does speak to, in bid scenarios of single bid responses, using those standards in this circumstance, we meet the standards. This RFP was advertised for over 20 days, so people did have a reasonable amount of time, as stated in the code, to pick up the RFP and respond. The price, the commission, percentage commission that was submitted by PGS mirrors their commission with the city contract, so we feel that it's fair and reasonable. So we meet standards, those standards of a single bid scenario that's identified in our code, and I feel comfortable making the recommendation to you today.
Any other discussion or questions?
No.
We need a motion?
Is there a motion?
I'd move to accept.
Is there a second?
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote.
I'm going to take a roll
No,
call
you gotta
vote,
take,
if it's okay.
because I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Lavelle is Commissioner Lavelle has
I
recused
abstain.
herself. Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Traubert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Congratulations.
Great, thank you. Item number 8 from the Director of Green Initiatives, authorization to enter into a contract for the supply and delivery of cleaning products.
Good afternoon, President Traubert, Commissioners, Superintendent Kelly. I'm Brendan Daly, Director of Green Initiatives. I'm before you today to ask for your approval for the General Superintendent to enter into a contract with Intercity Supply Company for the purpose of providing concentrated cleaning products for our facilities. The contractor was selected pursuant to a publicly advertised request for proposals. Recently, the Chicago Park District solicited a green and non-green cleaning supplies bid, contracting with firms to provide a variety of greening opportunities at all levels of cleaners and supplies. In order to further green cleaning supplies and practices, we want to implement super concentrated green cleaning products throughout our facilities. In doing so, we will reduce the overall variety of cleaning products currently being used in the parks without sacrificing cleanliness. Additionally, by moving to a more concentrated line of cleaning products, we hope to reduce the amount of waste generated from cleaning operations, thus making the process more sustainable. Through discussions with attendants and other staff responsible for cleaning, it was determined that 7 general products can meet the majority of the cleaning needs of our facilities. These 7 products were included in the RFP. The RFP requested a number of specific things for the cleaning product container as well. We requested that the product containers be portable and easy to use for our staff, made from at least 25% post-consumer recycled content, and be 100% recyclable plastic. We also requested that the concentrated products be easily, safely, and accurately dispensed by our staff, and the containers holding the dispensing concentrated cleaning products should guarantee a 99.9% evacuation of the product. Finally, we requested the containers be leak and drop resistant and provide precise dosing to ensure consistent dilution rates and cost control. The contract was publicly advertised as an RFP. This was a target market RFP, so respondents were restricted to local, certified MBE and WBE companies and or joint ventures consisting exclusively of MBEs, WBEs, or both. 3 proposals were received on the due date, and the Department of Purchasing deemed them responsive and compliant. The samples that were provided as part of the 3 proposals were evaluated at a park location. After the proposals were reviewed, Intercity Supply Corp was recommended for award. MBE participation for this contract is 100%. In addition to providing the cleaning products themselves, the awardee will also provide a staff training program, including on-site training, poster instructions, MSDS sheets, and clearly marked supplies and dilution on the containers. I would like to thank our staff who worked on this bid, particularly the attendants at Garfield Park, Fieldhouse, Lawrence Flint, and Olivia Clinton, and the attendants at South Shore Cultural Center, Patrick Millhouse, Walter Bilbrew, Vicki Creamer, Orrin Jefferson, Wanda Mercer, Marion Moore, Robert Morris, and Lonell Stevens. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Brendan, when do you decide to do this target market as opposed to a standard bid?
I will ask Rafi to actually answer that question. Part of the decision is if there are vendors in that market. I know the Department of Purchasing does a lot of work around looking for vendors that would be appropriate for that sort of target market. I don't know, Rafi, if you want to add anything.
We survey the city's MBE-WB directory to see how many firms are within a certain area that we're seeking to advertise a solicitation. And we then maybe will probe them to see if they do supply what we're looking to bid out so we can ensure that we're going to have a competitive solicitation. And we did that here, and we felt that we could achieve a competitive scenario, and we did. And so that's roughly how we do it.
Any other questions?
You will need a motion?
We have a motion.
So move.
A second.
Will the Secretary please take a roll call?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Shalaby?
Aye.
Commissioner Lavelle?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Traubert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 9 from the Director of Planning, Construction, and Facilities, authorization to participate in City of Chicago Contract 26574 to purchase 4x4 diesel-powered conventional cab chassis with live floor bodies, salt spinners, and snowplows.
Good evening, Commissioners. Pat LeVar, Chief Operating Officer for the Chicago Park District. Pursuant to the joint purchasing agreement between the Chicago Park District and the City of Chicago, it is recommended that the General Superintendent and CEO or his designee enter into a contract with BCR LLC Automotive Group, doing business as Roche Ford, to purchase 4x4 diesel-powered conventional cab chassis with live floor bodies, salt spinners, snow plows, an amount not to exceed $640,000 based on available capital funding. And I know the question is, what is a 4x4 diesel-powered conventional cab chassis? It's a mini dump truck with plow attachments as well as salt spreaders. This board action and the next one are linked, and I'd like to just go a little bit into our fleet management program and how we do things and why we're asking to purchase, and the next one is to rent. About 4 or 5 years ago, we had about 800 pieces of equipment in our fleet, whether it was leased through enterprise leasing or whether it was purchased through existing Park District contracts or City of Chicago joint procurement contracts. In that amount of time, we have now we have 600 pieces of equipment, which is a deduction of 200 pieces based on how we do our fleet. We have equipment that we purchase, mostly your heavy duty, your front end loaders, your dumps, dump trucks, your backhoes. We also lease. We lease our light duty vehicles, and because the Park District is such a seasonal seasonal through our seasonal workforce and natural resources or through some of the programs, it doesn't make sense to enter in a 4-year lease or to purchase a vehicle if it's just going to sit there. So we've, over the last few years, 4 to 5 years, we've condensed it. That's how we were able to eliminate 200 pieces of our equipment. As it comes to the the mini dumps, we've decommissioned 4 of them in the last 2 years. The city has an active contract, and we're looking to replace the dump trucks that we decommissioned. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Hey, Patrick, what's the life expectancy of these vehicles? And
well, we do a pretty good job with, there's some pieces, these dumps were probably 25 years old, 20 to 25 years old. Thank you. One of the things I forgot to mention is we are in the process of renegotiating our intergovernmental agreement with the Department of Fleet and Facility Management. We buy our gas from the Department of Fleet. They do all of our maintenance on our owned equipment. And enterprise leasing, we pay a maintenance package in our lease payment for your preventative maintenance, your body damage, your tire rotations. But about 20, 25 years were these pieces that we decommissioned. Does that answer your question?
Any other questions? You have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, will the Secretary please take a roll call?
Yes, sir. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Shalaby has left the meeting. Commissioner Lavelle?
Aye.
Commissioner Salgado?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Vice President Armstrong?
Aye.
President Traubert?
Aye.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 10 from the Director of Planning, Construction, and Facilities, authorization to participate in City of Chicago's contract 24034 to rent heavy equipment with and without operators.
Again, Pat LeVar, Chief Operating Officer. Pursuant to the joint purchasing agreement between the Chicago Park District and the City of Chicago, it is recommended that the General Superintendent and CEO or his designee enter into a contract with Steve's Equipment Services to rent heavy equipment with or without operators. In an amount not to exceed $300,000 based on available funding. I'd also like to note that this is a 95% MBE contract with 5% WBE. And going back to what I previously said, this is renting of equipment. Any questions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
Item number 11, from the Disability Officer, authorization to enter into a contract for ADA Title II access audits. Larry Labiak.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Superintendent Kelly, General Counsel. Pleasure to be with you today. Disability Policy Officer Larry Labiak. It is recommended that an order be entered authorizing the General Superintendent or his designee to enter into a contract with LCM Architects, LLC for the completion of ADA Title II access audits of select parks, park properties. The contractor was selected pursuant to a request for proposal. No work may commence and no payment shall be made to the contractor prior to the execution of a written agreement. Let me explain that the Park District developed its original transition plan in 1992 in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. It is somewhat outdated. We did a program review and analysis and a transition plan draft review about 9 years ago. After which, in the ensuing 5 years, the Park District has spent over $30 million on accessibility modifications to some 100 buildings across the district. Most notably, in 2008, the bond issue approved an additional $25 to $30 million for excessive accessibility modifications to some 25 parks, touching 35 buildings and exteriors across the district. So we have done a good job with some of the low-hanging fruit. This is an effort to work with a consultant to review the properties of some of our larger parks, notably Lincoln, Grant, Jackson, all of our golf courses, all of our harbors, of course with the exception of 31st, which is brand new and fully accessible, so that we can complete a revised transition plan. Now, the goal of that transition plan is to then develop a 3 to 5 year plan for barrier removal. Most of you may know that the ADA is an unfunded federal mandate, but in spite of that, cities across the country have to come up with financing to remove barriers. I'm sure that we'll identify many more barriers than will likely ever have the financing available to remove. However, one of the transition plan goals, and I think probably the most important one, is to have a blueprint of priority for the purpose of combining the ADA capital plan into and with the general capital plan so that we can maximize the limited finances available to make our parks not only improved in a general sense, but much more accessible to the disabled consumer, people with disabilities of any type, blind, deaf, individuals with any kind of limitation, the elderly as well. As many of you know, and I've mentioned at previous meetings, there are 60 million more of my group, the baby boomers, whom will reach the age of 65 in the next 15 years. Questions, comments? I'd be willing to elaborate. The day has been long, and you know I'm somewhat verbose.
So and you've said this in one way. Let me just ask you if this is your understanding as well. When it comes to the old infrastructure that we have here, a lot of it was designed without any thought to accessibility. And we have facilities like that all over the city. And when it comes to ADA, we'd like to do everything, and we'd like to do it now. But we don't have the money to do everything, and we can't do it now. So we have to pick and choose. We have to make choices as to what we do. Will this help us make those choices? Will this provide us with a priority list or something of a master plan to approach ADA?
Absolutely, and it's been a long time coming. Now, this will, combined with surveys of some 220 parks to date that I've utilized college interns at a very economical cost that has probably saved the district close to $500,000 in the last 3 years. We utilize this consulting firm to really look at those front door parks, the big ones, and combine all of that information to establish a priority plan for barrier removal. Now, President Traubert, the reality is this. The Americans with Disabilities Act doesn't say a park district entity must ensure that every one of its buildings or properties is physically accessible to the public. What it says is we must make accommodations for people with disabilities by either physical barrier removal or providing programmatic access. For instance, if there is a building at which there is a boutique class and it's on the 3rd floor of a building that has historical significance and we might not touch for that and other reasons, or the cost to make that building accessible would be so huge that we're not looking at that building in particular, we would move that class to a more accessible park that has ground level access or elevator access to accommodate that patron and everyone else in that particular program. So the programmatic access element is not just what kind of programming do we do, but my program as a person with a disability, maybe I just like to go sit on the lakefront with my wife and have a park bench that I can access close to the water or close to the beach and park next to her in my wheelchair. That's my programmatic access. So we want to provide elements of that kind of programmatic access as well across the district so that anyone that has a physical limitation or some other kind of disability doesn't have to travel far distance anywhere in the city to find accessibility. That it's fairly close, equitably distributed across our geographic region for all patrons throughout the city. So this will help toward the goal of a master plan to ensure accessibility for years to come, knowing that we will always have buildings and properties that are not fully accessible. Other questions, comments? Well, I thank you very much for this opportunity. It's exciting for me in my role here at the Park District for the last 7 years to get to this point. And the transition plan is an analysis that will be tweaked in 2013, 2014, and beyond so that we can maximize those finite dollars and do the best job we can within ADA and general capital planning. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
If no objection, we'll apply the last favorable roll call vote from the prior matter to this matter.
Motion carried and the matter is adopted.
That concludes the board meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The board meeting is now adjourned.